Hey everybody, it's Janice with Creating Through Chaos, and today we're going to take this rustic looking shutter and turn it into a scarecrow. So the first thing I did was scrape off all the loose paint and then sanded down the rest of it. I didn't worry about getting all of the paint off because I wanted it to have a rustic look. I'm going to use three colors here. The top half is going to be brown, the middle is going to be a cream color, and the bottom is going to be orange. Now, I didn't tape off my lines. I just kind of estimated where I wanted the paint to go and separated it into three different parts. So as you can see, now I'm putting on the cream color. The first color I used was a brown. And this is just going to be a small section in the middle that I did this color. It's going to kind of look like a candy corn when we're finished painting it. And the bottom part is going to be orange. So again, I didn't tape off my lines for any of this. It's okay if they kind of flowed into each other. Again, this is just supposed to be a rustic looking scarecrow, so I wasn't worried too much about being perfect. If you are a perfectionist, you're definitely going to have to tape it off. Once I got it all painted, I also had a piece of scrap wood that I painted to match the same color as the top half of the scarecrow. And that's going to be the brim of his hat. The first thing I did, though, was cut a piece of burlap a little bit larger than the bottom of my shutter. And I did this so I can create a pocket. So I just took the burlap and I stapled it around the bottom half of the shutter. I can't tell you the exact size because everybody's shutter is going to be a different size. So I folded over the top edge and I just stapled this on all the way to the bottom. And I left some of the orange sticking out. And I just kept stapling until I felt like it was secure. I folded over the edges on the corners on the bottom. And this is a big project. My shutter is a little bit close to 4 feet tall. So it's pretty large size. So I'm sorry if some of the things don't end up in the video. It was really hard to work with this. I was on the floor. So once I got the pocket all attached with the staples, I decided I wanted to spruce up the pocket a little bit. So I got these stencils at Hobby Lobby. They were $3.99 and I used the 40% off coupon. And it had a pumpkin in it, and there was another stencil with just leaves on it. So I taped the pumpkin stencil to the front of the burlap, and I slid a piece of cardboard down the inside of the pocket so that I had a stronger surface to paint on. So I just used some orange paint and stenciled the pumpkin on. I used some brown for the stem. And I absolutely love the way anything looks stenciled on burlap. I just think it gives it such a rustic, cute look. And this is just a regular orange acrylic paint. Then I took some burnt umber, which is brown, and I did the stem in that color. Then once that was all done, I took that off and I actually used a piece from the other stencil. It had a cute little stem on it. So I decided I wanted to add that to the top of the pumpkin. So I just used green acrylic paint and stenciled that on next to the pumpkin. And this part came out so cute. I just love the way this looked. Then I just pulled the cardboard out, and once that was dry, I started on my next part. So the next part is I cut some raffia and I attached it to either side of the snowman's head, right between the brown and the white. And I just used a staple gun to do so. And I think I just called it a snowman, and it's definitely a scarecrow. And then I hot glued the piece of wood on top of the raffia that I just stapled down on either side. and I kind of tilted his hat a little bit. I think at some point I want to write welcome on it. I just haven't done that yet. This was kind of a on the whim project. I had the shutter sitting in my backyard for a very long time, and I was like, that could be a scarecrow. So I decided to do so. And I just kind of gave the raffia a little bit of a trim. Then I decided I wanted some raffia right above the brim of his hat. So I just kind of grabbed a bunch of it and put some hot glue down and shoved it in there. And I actually used the packaging that the stencil came in, and I just kind of shoved it down there. I didn't want to burn my hands. And it's okay if your raffia looks all wild and wiry. It's supposed to. That's totally fine. Raffia is a mess. You should have seen the mess on my floor when I was done with this project. And see how it's all wiry? I just kind of gave it a little trim. Get rid of some of the really wiry pieces, but I left it mostly just kind of out of control. Above the rim of the hat, I added some leaves and a pine cone and a floral piece from Dollar Tree. Then I started drawing his face out with a pencil, and I basically just did 2 sideways ovals for the eyes, 2 lines above his eyes for eyebrows, and then I did a triangle that I sort of rounded off for his nose. And I'm sorry, the sun was glaring and you really can't see it, but here's what it looks like when I was done. And then I just did dotted lines for his mouth, and I just made it into a smile. And I did the same thing for the parts that are going to be on his cheeks. So just kind of a half circle with dashes. Then you can just take a paint marker and draw out the face that you just did with the pencil. So you're just going to trace over your lines. You want to fill in his eyes. Then I took some maroon paint and I painted his nose the maroon color. And I also dabbed a little of the maroon on either side of his cheeks where the half circles are that we drew for the mouth. I just dry brushed some maroon onto that. Give him some rosy, cute cheeks. And you don't have to keep your painting all on one individual slat for this scarecrow. You can use 2 slats if you need to for, like, say, his cheeks and his nose. For his nose, I used I went from one slat to another. Same thing with the cheeks. The slats are small. You're not going to get your whole project on, each individual slat. So I painted the nose that color, and it matched his cheeks. And you're probably going to have to give his nose a second or even third coat. In hindsight, I actually wish that I had painted it like a candy corn, and I may go back and change that to match the colors that I painted him. Then I just took my paint pen and did out his face, his mouth, and his cheeks once the maroon paint was dry. And then I went over and touched up the eyes again. Then I took some white paint and put 2 white dots using the back of my paintbrush in each one of his eyes. And he's already looking super cute. And like I said, this is a big project, so he is going to take up a large amount of space in my front yard because that's where I'm putting him. And again, like I said, I just touched up the nose with some more of the burgundy paint. And I really am considering going back and changing the colors on that. So that could be an option for you, is that you can use the brown, the white, and the orange and do his nose that way. And then I'm going to outline it, I believe, with the black paint marker. I just think it would look cuter and kind of tie it all together. So once I finished the painting, I took a bunch of florals that I got at Dollar Tree and I just stuffed them down in the pocket. I also, like I said, did the floral up on the top of the brim of his hat. And then at the very top, I added a floral and I cut a piece of burlap and a piece of fabric and then put a sunflower over that. You can embellish him however you want. This is your project. This is just for a general idea to give you an idea of how to make one of these. So just make it your own. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to sprinkle.